Yes, hello, good morning for this next webinar, on testing, so digital resilience testing under DORA. So I'm very happy to be here with you after this long weekend. For me, it was a bit painful because I got sick, but I'm back. I'm back. So I'm today I have the honor today to be with three specialists. We have Daryna from Hoxhunt. So welcome, Daryna. We have Kurt Bonne from Ceeyu. And we have Barry as well. We know him from the last webinar as well, from Rapid7. So so I will just put you off stage for some minutes. We'll see you in a few minutes. So there will be today a first part as I would say more compliance, more on how to comply with DORA Pillar 3 and the testing program. So we will discuss about that. So the testing program is the main deliverable, I would say, of DORA compliance. So Barry will explain you what Rapid7 could offer on the testing program and the resilience to threat, exposure management and things like that. And we have the chance as well to have Kurt. He will explain you how to manage your supply chain, so third-party exposure and testing from Ceeyu. And then Daryna from Hoxhunt to talk about the staff. Very important to test, especially phishing, your exposure to phishing, and to test the skills as well of your staff. So to manage the risk related to humans, in fact, to the staff. So this is the agenda for the day. It's foreseen for 2 hours, but hopefully we will take less than that. Let's see how it goes. So let's start. My part. Quickly, who are we? So Thot IT, what do? We are specialists in compliance, especially on DORA and outsourcing, third party in DORA and outsourcing. The other pillars, of course, of DORA, first pillar on risk management, then on incident management, the topic of the last webinar, and then this time testing, and of course, third party. We are proposing security services like virtual CISO. So we are building testing program with our customers and delivering some of the tests and some security solutions with our partner and security governance and business continuity governance and compliance. So quickly, just to set up the scene, we are discussing the starting point here is DORA. 4 pillars, 4 main pillars. There are 5 pillars, but 4 main pillars of DORA. First one, ICT risk management. By the way, there are already some aspects in risk management, which is talking about assessing, testing things, securing the environment, training the employees. And so second one is incident management, of course. Digital testing, this is the topic of the day, by the way. Oh, sorry. The topic of the day is digital testing and third-party risk management as well. So for today is the testing program. So very important to consider on the testing program is the proportionality. The first aspect that needs to be taken into account is your proportionality. So the bigger you are, the more frequently you should test and the more deeply you should test. Your testing program should be aligned with your proportionality. So your proportionality is determined by your size and the complexity, nature, scales, and risks of your entity. So with the size of your entity, the activities of your entity, size, scope, and so on, and your risks. So if you didn't already assess your proportionality, we really strongly advise you to do it, to document it, and to have it approved by your management body. Yeah. So Why is testing so important in DORA, and why this new pillar? Before with previous regulations, it was not so important, the testing part. There was some testing requirement, but not at the level of what DORA is requiring. This is because security needs to be continuously improved. This is a must. So, and to be able to do so, we need to assess. We need the PDCA, plan, do, check, act, Deming rule, to the wheel to turn. To make this wheel turn, we need to plan, do. This is risk management, implementing of the measures, security operations, IT operations, and so on. But we need to check. And this is the testing part. This is the testing pillar, testing program, testing policy, all the tests. And of course, the findings in the test needs to be considered for continuous improvement. Very important. So the program itself, the testing program, is aligned with your proportionality. It should cover your risks. So what is the most risky you should test more frequently, more deeply. It should be there to test as well the effectiveness of the measure. One example, if you are training people, you need to test them. Or if you are securing your environment, you should scan it from a vulnerability perspective. Or you should test as well the measures of your third party. And you should, so one of the objectives of the test is to check your resilience to threats, to the attacks, so cyber attacks and so on. What DORA is saying as well is that you have to test your critical or important, or your services supporting critical or important functions, the CIF, at least on a 3-year basis for the advanced testing, but in general. CSSF, by the way, in the last seminar of the CLUSIL, was managing that as the most important aspect, to test what is critical or important. So the testing program, in fact, in DORA, there are two types of tests. There is the basic testing and the advanced testing, which is TLPT. TLPT stands for Threat-Led Penetration Test. We will not discuss this topic today. Some of you, maybe a small number of the people in this attendance are eligible to TLPT. So if you do, you should know, by the way, because this is driven from the regulator perspective, so from the CSSF, from the Commissariat aux Assurances. But this is not the topic of today. We will discuss more basic testing. And everyone should perform basic testing, all entities. In basic testing, Article 25 of DORA, DORA is listing some tests without explaining what it means behind. And some is really, vague. We don't know exactly what they mean. Those are a list of examples and some important aspects in there. So they are talking, for example, about pen test, vulnerability scans, scanning of the software, source code review, and so on and so on and so on. But there are other tests to be done. This is not exhaustive. And maybe this is not relevant. Some of those tests, if you are not developing anything, what's the point of reviewing the source code? So it should be relevant to your specific situation. This is why we advise you to contact us to build a good program that is fitting really your situation, your proportionality, your needs, your risks, your critical functions. So just for your information, TLPT, threat-led penetration testing, we call that as well red teaming. Red teaming is a part of it. So this is really to mimic the cyber attack. This is going one step further than just traditional pen tests. In terms of technique, they are using social engineering and so on. And this is driven by the TLTP authority, so by the CSSF, as I said. For the third party, organization can group to do pool testing of suppliers. So this is Article 26 of DORA. Again, not so much for today. Yeah, those are the list of organizations which are eligible to TLPT. It's only, the major banks, some payment institution, central security depository, trade venues, and so on, some big insurance companies as well. And it could be that authorities, will designate other entities. So if you are in that situation, you will be contacted by the CSSF or your specific regulated regulation authority. That's it for my part. I thought I would take 20 minutes, but it's more like 10 minutes. So I will give the floor to Barry. So Barry, yeah, I hope you are somewhere around. Yes. Barry, where are you? Barry, yes. So I should remove first my... It's a bit confusing because I saw your picture on the screen.
Yeah, I'm there.
But it was not you.
Thank you, Jean-Hubert. So I will take you to a bit in the story what Rapid7 is, but also on the risk side, what we are doing there, and also. So first of all, my name is Rijnbeek, based in Netherlands, close to Amsterdam, covering the Benelux region for Rapid7 on the pre-sales side, on the technical side. So maybe my history is also always in the technical side. So being a SOC lead, CISO, and also pen test in the previous jobs. And now 2 years by Rapid7. So what Rapid7 is, it's an American company, existing 25 years this year. And we started as known by using anything what is risk-based. So vulnerability scanning was like the first product we have for risk vulnerability information. And what we see is as well is that our portfolio changed. So you see on this screen as well. So we have changed it now in 2 sectors: exposure management and detection response. So in the last webinar we gave together with Jean-Hubert, we talk about this side, detection response side. And now today we're talking about everything what's related to risk, and we call it exposure management, because it's more than only vulnerability management nowadays.
So it's more the today is more the preventive day, and last month it was the reactive one.
Yeah. So I just changed the pictures to show what we're just talking today. So exposure management. So vulnerability management existing already for around 20 years in the market. It's still there, it's still needed, but it's more needed nowadays. So vulnerability management is called more the on-prem vulnerability you want to assess. For cloud, we have a CNAPP solution, cloud native application protection. For web applications, like a DAST solution to do automated pen testing tools. And we have CASM and ESM. So they are like new market names, buzzwords can be seen as well. But do everything to see what is known about your company inside your company, but also outside. And I will dive more in those details. And what you also saw, it maybe in one slide back, is there's also a validation part of it. And this also can be red teaming exercise. We can, about the information we have, we can do a red teaming exercise, but that's an additional module. We don't talk about today, but no, it's existing there. But how to collect all the data? It's getting the product itself can collect data, but also we need to look broader than only our own solutions to collect data. So we need to look at all the outbound of data from Azure, AWS, anything what you run on-prem, maybe your CMDB, maybe you have other security tools, like doing your security awareness assessing. And those information can be fed back to our platform in here, Attack Surface Management, and correlate all those data. So maybe one step back in the history where we're coming from and where we're now going to. So in the past, we have a security focus quite easy. We have servers and endpoints, and you can just see everything scanned by network scans to see if there are vulnerabilities, which systems are in your network. But then the next chapter become like there are more virtual networks, virtual machines' identities, it's getting a bit more harder already to identify the vulnerabilities or what is running on your network. But then the next chapter was, we have cloud, bring your own devices, AI and machine learning, web domains. So it's getting more or spread around and not in control anymore from the company. So it's more outside sometimes. And now we see, like nowadays with IoT, SaaS applications, containers, APIs, and supply chain. So this all what's related to your risk of your company, but it's harder to assess. So what do we see now? So we call it legacies, where we like the first part. So the increase for tech service is growing because you have more ways to get your data visibility. But also there's a decreasing of visibility because it's harder to find all those data or all those systems running or related to your company. So, and there was a point that they crossed each other, and now the visibility gap is growing. So how to fix this part? We have that CASM and ESM module. I'll explain more in detail about to how to identify all these kind of unknown systems or identities in your company, which can be a potential risk. So everything what you know, you can assess, but if what you don't know, that can be even a bigger risk. So a bit of marketing slides. So on numbers from Gartner. So we see that at least 70% of organizations clearly know what their majority of assets and identities are. And we see more that 40% of the SecOps leaders thinks that they will have most impact in security days for next 20 to 24 months. And we need to focus on more strategic goals than only to the vulnerability itself. So we embracing, of course, AI, but also we see multi-cloud, hybrid stacks, growing attack visibility and complexity. So we need to grow with our tools together to help the customers to get control about their risks.
Just one comment on what you said on the inventory. This is, I think, key, because if we don't know what we have, how can we secure ourselves? And by the way, DORA is asking for that. You need to identify your assets, what you need to protect. So this is a good remark.
Yeah. So due to the DORA, this is currently quite heavily asked by our customers, but also like there was also the NIS2. It's also the things also companies are thinking about how to make sure we think we know is exactly what we have. So how we see as Rapid7 now exposure command or exposure management. And that's, so we call the legacy tools, which like we saw 20 years ago with vulnerability management. So that's still needed. So it's a part of the risk part of you can see. Then of course, everything is connected to the internet. We also need to know about what's there, what's open there, and what kind of risk can be taken or can be assessed there. So that's the ring outside. Then CASM, so cyber asset security monitoring. That's everything what's inside your company, and to know, is the system part of your company, yes or no? So maybe one tool says, I have 100 systems in my environment. Another tool has maybe 15, and there's always a different number. And that's the goal of CASM, just to identify all the systems, and are they also compliant to the standards you're taking in. And the next part is also risk-based vulnerability management. So everything what's getting a vulnerability, then it needs to be looked at not only the CVS score, but also a further approach. So what is the risk for your company for this vulnerability? Is this system or software connected to the internet? Is it critical information on top of that? And based on this risk-based vulnerability, you can see better and also define for your company, what is the steps we need to take today, and what can be maybe tomorrow or the week after. So this is how we see it. It's just all in once, in one platform. So what you see is that all these tools in the market, there are players to do only one part of it. And they are probably very good in it, but you need to have multiple tools, and that's hard to maintain. nowadays. So we see also in the market that most companies looking more to the best platform solution instead of point solutions. So just a picture about to show you about the discovery part, or to know what's inside your company. So this is an example of an POC we had a couple of weeks ago. So they are using our software for vulnerability management, and we see the 60,000 assets in, but they're using a WIS for cloud security, can be us as well, but at 35,000. So all those numbers are never been the same, because they own their own truth. But for a company, you want to know the truth of your entire stack. So we correlate all this data, and we see the unique amount of assets is 68,000 assets. And what are the threats coming from the data? What kind of vulnerabilities you have there? And the next step is more for DORA and for NIS2 is as well. So for the controls. So for example, we see in here that from the 68,000 assets, 78 has endpoint protection enabled. So that means that 12% doesn't have endpoint protection enabled. And those are the gaps you want to know. For risk-based vulnerability management, so we rely starting first with ZVSS. So this every company will use as the standard. But on top, we'll enrich the data with what you can see from our attacker behavior, also from our open source products, AttackerKB, Metasploit, ExploitDB, we are the owner of. Also, we have our honeypots globally, and also from our detection response side, we see what currently is abused or what kind of been mentioned by third parties, but also in our AR responses. But also from clear web and dark web, we're following this kind of APT groups or nation-state hackers or other kind of mentioning those kind of vulnerabilities, and we'll give them a link and rating, and that will influence our scoring. And that's what you can from our side, but from your side, you need to also give information what's important in your network. So what are your critical assets, or are they exposed to the internet? We can see by connectivities, and that will influence to a score from 0 to 1,000, which is on the right side, just to keep it more granular. So I use a couple of slides, but I think to just show some kind of short things about in a demo, to how it looks like and how to work with this kind of data. So when the tools are connected, we're collecting the data. We see already how many endpoint security systems or not, how many assets are without endpoint security. How many systems we didn't have any vulnerability assessment in the last month. Those kind of easy numbers, but can make big impact to your security vision. So if we dive into more in how the first part, how to discover and know what is in your network. So we do it based on connectors, and the connectors are just reading out the API of tools like CrowdStrike, can be any kind of other tools, AWS, Active Directory, Azure. But we also can enrich the data from the CISA-CAF information, first EPSS, maybe using Intune for deploying kind of policies to see, for example, disk encryption enabled, and so on. So when all the data is in the platform, we can do all kind of linking the data to each other. So what I did as preparation of this webinar, from all those 68,000 assets, or 64 in total, just show me only the operating systems with Windows Server 2020, and also which are physical running on a machine, so they're not virtual. And what we can see on the data itself, we're collecting from different kind of sources the data and also correlate. And this we're using with AI and machine learning to find what the best correlation method is for every machine. So also with ServiceNow, we're collecting the data. Intune, for example, see disk encryption is enabled. What kind of other policies have been configured? This case, endpoint information from Defender, maybe Exabeam, and so on. And also from our own tool, vulnerability management. So you can see the more data you in have, the better you can see and also see what are the gaps and what is our visibility gap in this case. We also can visualize this because if we put everything in a database and link to each other, and we can show you here an example. So this is the machine we're looking at. These are the vulnerabilities there, the location where it exists, disk encryption enabled, on which network it exists, but also we can zoom into more to the network itself. And we can just see, because it's all linked in the database, that on which systems are also attached to the same network. So in case, now click more cleaner view. So see all those systems are on the same network. So in case this machine is breached, we also need to pay attention to all those machines in here. Another example can be as well is, go to workspace. It may also maybe a nice bridge to a later session is about Hoxhunt, where you can see, let me show all the users which are now using MFA and are prone to phishing. And for example, they also have multi-factor disabled and also have an administrator rights. So we see this user is prone to phishing because we're using the data from those kind of tools and how this looks like in the query language. So in here, so multi-factor is not true, it's administrator, and prone to phishing, we get in the percentage of the tool, we have this kind of data. If you want more fonts, you can just write down here in query language as well. So I won't go in detail, but just what you can see is here as well, data from external side. So what ports are open, network services, what other risky services currently to attach to my company. So this can be just an overview maybe for your risk team or your CISO, just to see where we are, and information can be sent back to the IT teams just to make sure it will be remove those risky services or expose ports you don't want. And same for certificates, aspiring, and so on. Another one can be as well that with the data overview, you see one overview here, what are the amount of assets we have and in the cloud and what type they are and so on. So looking a bit at the time, so let's check another part. So now we focused on the discovery side, but we can do way more also with vulnerability scanning and cloud. We're collecting the vulnerabilities from both environments. And that information now sends back to Remediation Hub. So we see all the vulnerabilities in here. We can sort them by maybe only on-prem information, different team. Or maybe I want to see only the cloud ones, or want all in one place. So for example, this, we say a solution is we need to upgrade to the latest version of Chrome. And these are the all impacted machines we have. But also you can see as well what is their current endpoint protection information, because we already collected the data. And also what's their patch status, what's the last time they get an update from our SCM or Intune or any kind of other tools. And also we see in here what the remediation step is, what we recommend to do, and which vulnerabilities are related and we fixed during this kind of implementing this fix. So this is nice, but also the next step would be how to fix those kind of vulnerabilities. And by just enable here, we can have a workflow which can be connected to your patching software, just to send information to that and make a task to fix this kind of vulnerability on all the systems. So then for vulnerability management, do it on cloud and on-prem. But also the next step is, are we compliant? So is our configuration still okay? So for cloud posture, you can look for all the things we are not configured well in the cloud, the native clouds. Think on AWS, Azure, GCP. There are combinations. So maybe there's a public exposed machine with business critical application with a critical CVSS or CV, and there's an attack path available. That's quite interesting because that means it can be quite easily being abused. And we can dive in directly what it is. And so let me show an attack path, for example, public machine, exposed machine, and because it's in the cloud, let me put in the screen. So in here, we show the multiple ways how to get there to abuse the system and where we can fix it by the callers. But also, if you're looking more to the compliance side, so we can do it based on all our agents on the systems to see if compliance following the kind of standards, but also in the cloud. We can show, for example, I want to see everything following the sys controls or maybe NIST, where you can define your own controls, PCI DSS, but also ISO. Let's pick a general one. And I want to see it on my Amazon cloud, China not needed for today, Azure, and maybe Google Cloud. And we now see directly where we are compliant. So it's for 86%. And what are the steps to do? And what are the findings? Are they critical, high, and so on? This helps you to also, the next step after vulnerability management will be make sure you are compliant following the standards. So that's also something in DORA I will get back to you, that you think about the configuration you are assessing, because they can be a potential risk. So let me one step back to the platform itself. So from here we see a lot of information because we want to build in one platform everything related. And from the risk side, we can see as well also the executive risk view. That's more for the management, just to see the trending, so where they are going. Are we increasing or decreasing with our risk? And are the special areas we want to highlight? And we're looking to the data from the multiple sources in here in one overview, and we'll show where we are. Just take a few minutes, but will come. So we see in here already accepted vulnerabilities means they are accepted, and they will take the risk in here, and we don't fix it. So there's a number of plus 1.1%. So while this loading is that this is also just a thing what we also can be scheduled by reporting. And here already the risk scoring is going up in here slightly. But if you're going back to the slides, that's coming. See as well the bars where we are. So this on-prem vulnerabilities, those are the cloud vulnerabilities. And the top 5 vulnerabilities you can remediate to make the biggest impact. They are filtered on risk score and so on, which are exploited on the wild. So going back to the slides. I need to sign in, I think. Again, 1 moment. That's always a thing with the live demos. It can be risky. So this is a short wrap up about, I showed you some minor things of the platform, what you can do. It can be quite a lot, but also you can start with on-prem vulnerability and then with multiple blocks can build up to the full platform. But it's what you nowadays need to have your full visibility on your risk vulnerability management, but or exposure management. And this is also an overview what kind of data you get in reporting. So the executive risk, cloud summary, cloud compliance summary, actionable remediation, dashboarding, and so on. So this was my part. Thanks for your time all, and hope it was useful. And if any questions, please put them in the chat, and we try to answer them.
Thanks to Barry. Thanks for that. So I will now move to Kurt. So Kurt, I will put you in the scene. Hello, nice to see you again. So Kurt, can you introduce maybe yourself and explain?
You can see on the first slide. and the next one. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Jean-Hubert and Thot IT for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Bonne, and I'm the CTO at Ceeyu. Ceeyu is a cybersecurity SaaS company based in EU, and we focus on attack surface and third-party risk management. So today I'm excited to show you how we support organizations like yours in meeting in one of the more demanding aspects of DORA, managing and testing the risks in their ICT supply chain. And this in a fast, structured, and audit-ready way. We're based out of Antwerp, Belgium. There we have our HQ. And at the bottom of the slide, you can see some organizations that already trust us with managing their third-party risks. Next slide, please. So let's first start with a quick overview of what DORA actually requires when it comes to your third-party ICT providers. And in short, the bar has been raised significantly. Now financial entities must take full responsibility for the risks stemming from their whole third-party ICT providers and are now expected to continuously assess third-party ICT providers, keep a detailed contract registers for all their ICT providers, understand and manage the contractual resiliency obligations, and conduct structured due diligence before the onboarding, but regularly thereafter as well. And that might seem straightforward, but when you're managing dozens or even hundreds of vendors, it becomes very complex very quickly. And that is exactly where Ceeyu can help. Next slide, please. So at Ceeyu, we've built a platform that makes vendor due diligence practical, scalable, and also DORA aligned. And this is how we do it. So first, we automate the collection of evidence and questionnaires. So you can customize questionnaires to match your risk domain, your vendor type, and make them smart so that only the necessary questions and evidence are collected. A typical example here is when a supplier uploads a valid ISO 27001 certificate, a questionnaire can be reduced from, let's say, tens or even hundreds of questions to a handful of questions. The questions are not only easy to send and to manage in a Kanban board, but are also easy to answer, saving both you and your supplier the hours of manual work. And this is very important because it improves the response rate and reduces the cycle time for assessing a supplier drastically. Secondly, we enhance this with automated external security scans. So instead of waiting for a questionnaire to come back to have an initial assessment, you can already have visibility on the vendor's digital footprint and also all the vulnerabilities that potentially come with that. And the combinations give you a realistic and fast view of where risks are with your supplier, but also allows you to validate the risks that you extract from the questionnaires with real-time external data. By combining these results, we provide every supplier with a Ceeyu risk rating, and this allows you to follow up on the evolution of the supplier or to compare vendors in terms of risks. Our platform is continuously evolving, of course, so everything feeds into a centralized risk management view, and from there you can prioritize the actions or generate reports and maybe even collaborate directly with your vendors. For this year, we're preparing to launch our Trust Center. Basically, this is a portal that allows your suppliers to proactively upload and update their documentation and certificates, which saves times on both sides of the relation. And by 2026, we'll add some AI assistance to interpret responses to accelerate compliance workflows even more. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about a very specific DORA obligation the central ICT provider register. This is a foundational piece. You must maintain a complete, updated view of all ICT-related vendors, especially those providing critical or important functions. You should store contracts, SLAs, security documentation, link questionnaires and scan results directly to the supplier profile, be able to generate reports at any time, and provide full visibility to your compliance teams, your management, and also, if needed, to your regulator, which is an important part of it. And with Ceeyu, this comes built in. Next slide, please. So now let's take a broader view. DORA frames vendor due diligence as a journey and not as a one-time tick-in-the-box effort. And that is exactly how Ceeyu supports you through every stage. So before the onboarding, you can launch automated questionnaires and scans. So you already get the clear pictures of risks before you sign a contract. One example is that many of our customers use the Ceeyu supplier risk scoring as part of their RFP scoring or included as part of their internal vendor assessment process, so that they have something they can compare with. During the relationship, you can define the assessment frequency so that Ceeyu can automatically ensure that you stay on track. And this, of course, this is supported by the continuous automated scan assessments. And every step of the way, you'll get updated risk indicators and you'll get alerts if something changes. And this also keeps the overhead for the supplier to a minimum, which improves the relationship with your supplier, of course. In the unfortunate case of an incident, everything you need is ready. You have your vendor's risk profile, you have your contact points, and you have all your contractual obligations in a single place, so that you can act fast and decisively. And this is how we at Ceeyu, we try to turn compliance from a burden into an operational advantage. Now I'll give you a short demo to demonstrate how we put this in practice. If you can switch the screen. Thank you. So this is typical login. Of course, we also integrate with your corporate identity using single sign-on if needed, or we provide multi-factor authentication built in out of the box as well in all our tiers. So on the left-hand side, you see the structure of our platform. And the first and the most important one is the overview of all your suppliers. So in one page, you have an immediate view of all your suppliers and their current rating and what is happening with them. So you can see their assessments and see if there are new assessments planned. As mentioned, every supplier has a detailed page, so you find all the contact information, their current ratings, and for instance, the ongoing or the closed assessments. But you can also see how the risk rating of the supplier evolves over time. So most typically, whenever there is a new scan that happens and new things were detected, or when assessment was done, this will update the supplier risk rating, and that is why you will see an evolution. Here you have a summary of the automated scan assessments in the different topics, in these different categories that we scan for vulnerabilities and for issues or for risks at the external attack surface. You also have an overview of all the documents shared to the assessments or that you uploaded yourself as part of your supplier file. Second parts of our platform are the assessments. We provide you with a default questionnaire library that you can start from, You can create your own version based on these, or you can create new questionnaires from scratch. You have the liberty to do so. But in essence, then for each supplier, you can create outgoing assessments, and you can manage these easily on a Kanban board. So that you know for each assessment that you're doing in which stage they are, so that you have a good overview and that you can manage these things easily. This is an example of one of the assessments. It's a very simple one, but yeah, it's the topic of creating questionnaires and all the capabilities are a webinar on its own. So we'll not go too much into details, but you can make decision trees, you can require evidence, all these things are built in. The third part or the third section of our platform are the automated assessments. And you have an overview across all your different suppliers and your own assets. We also scan your own assets, or you can limit the view to a single supplier or one of your assets. And here you see all the risks we detected as part of the automated security scan. Whenever a security issue is resolved or mitigated, and so the scanner will no longer detect that issue, it will also automatically close the risk generated from those scans. If we have a look at a detail, so basically this is a very small test, so they don't have the NSSEC integrated. You can click on the detail. Of course, for this one, there are not many details. Maybe look at something more exhaustive. So if we look at all the open risks for this provider, you can see all the technical. You can see which host we detected the risks, and you can see all the details of the technical details of the risk we detected as well. But that is more for the technical people in the audience. But at least you can guide your supplier in improving these risks. If you need more information or if you have more specific questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We can provide you with a more detailed demo, but for today, I think this is sufficient. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kurt. It was very, very interesting and perfect timing. So now I will introduce you again to Daryna. So Daryna, welcome again. I'll just change the screen. I need to do everything together. Yeah, okay. So Daryna, you will talk about how to so human risks, if I remember, and how to assess and indicate the staff with your very nice solution, Hoxhunt. Sorry for the name here. It's a bit the font was not the right one. So those are your slides. Can you introduce yourself quickly?
Of course. Good day, everyone. I'm Daryna Anttonen. I'm with Hoxhunt. So I don't know why, but the slide has been looking a little bit different than usual. So we can see that there is some digital wizard came there and changed the outlook. But apologies for that. In the meantime, I am talking to you sitting in the HQ of our company in Helsinki, Finland. But we do have a vast presence in Benelux area, as well as I'm saw that other speakers were mentioning Port of Waterberg, Linea, Axel Group. They are also our public reference customers, as well as bpost and others. So what makes Hoxhunt different is that we reduce human risk by putting employees into the center of the attention as the main preventative measure for some potential risks. So we don't treat people as a risk, but we treat them as a resource. And I would like to show you briefly, just to scratch the surface, how do we do that when it comes to the phishing training approach. Of course, our services are not limited only to phishing training, but it also includes security awareness training, as well as some additional elements of training such as SMS phishing, deepfake call attack, simulation, and others. But today I would like to concentrate on the phishing training approach, as well as touch base a little bit on security awareness training, so that it will be in relation to today's conversation about DORA. And of course, Jean-Hubert, please do not hesitate to add anything that you have on point to connect it to the regulation that we are talking about today. So we can go to the next slide, please. Let's hope it will look pretty.
Ooh, doesn't seem to be okay.
All right.
Yeah, let's sorry.
Yes.
One
Perfect.
slide doesn't appear.
No worries at all. So straight away to show you the example of the phishing simulation attack against me. So let's imagine that Dirk is my real colleague. We do use English language of the communication internally in our company. We use Dropbox, let's say, and everything looks good, but 2 points. First of all, it's a bit too cold for summer party pictures in Helsinki now. Second of all, Dropbox One does not seem like a legit sender's domain name. So it looks suspicious to me. So what I do as an end user, I press Hoxhunt a report button over there. So next slide, please. And then Hoxhunt says, fantastic job. You spotted Hoxhunt training email. Keep up the great work with reporting. Learn about the shady tricks used in the simulated phishing email and earn 1 more star. So what Hoxhunt does is that we train not only those people who fail, but also those people who succeed by reporting and catching the simulation. In this way, we are ensuring that everyone who interacts with the simulation gets the information point to ensure that everyone knows and didn't catch this time the threat by accident, but that they have the knowledge behind it secured. So can we go to the next slide, please? Excellent. And then after the person reports the simulation or fails for it, the person gathers the stars that are connected with positive reinforcement of the learning behavior of people, as well as Hoxhunt explains about the components of the threats that could have made it in real life a real attack. So we show to the employees the elements like that. The next slide, please. And also, if you wish as a security officer, for example, you can connect that there will be a small information security nugget located to this educational material that is being sent out alongside with phishing simulations explanations. Next slide, please. And for all those steps that I'm undertaking as an end user, I gather the stars that contributing to the shield of my organization, as well as I can see myself on the leaderboard. I can see the simulations that have been reported, missed, or clicked, meaning failed. And all this gamification that is making employees to start associating security training with something that is exciting, something that is not punitive, but on the contrary, people start being excited about this training because we believe that carrot is much better than the stick, and the numbers show that positive approach to the security training motivates people to be more engaged with the training, as well as the high level of the personalization to it. And that's something that I will cover in the next slides. So if you can please...
Just a comment on that. I can attest that this is working. You know, we are using, of course, this solution internally as the others, and yeah, people are really excited. You know, to win new starts and to be shown on the good numbers and so on. So this is a good motivation for the staff.
Thank you so much, Jean-Hubert, for such a nice compliment on your side. I'm very pleased. And I can say by myself that I'm also training with it as a worker for Hoxhunt. And I'm also super excited to learn and gather it. It can look on the outside that it's such a simple mechanism, but really it changes the behavior of people. And this is what we are after, to change the behavior from a risky one to one that protects the organization. So we want people to click, but we want them to click not the links or attachments. We want them to click the report button. And then it can be, in the best case scenario, it will be the training. In the worst case scenario, they will just notify a security officer about the potential threat, the real one that is circulating in the environment. So this is eventually our goal, that every time something looks suspicious, it contains some suspicious elements, I'm as an end user educated enough on that, and I can press a report button. So Hoxhunt phishing training is fully automated solution. Security officers do not have to lift a finger for it. But how Hoxhunt maintains its efficiency and how we ensure that every employee in the organization have their own learning track. So let's review a hypothetical example. So let's say we have Peter, who is a HR manager, who started training 3 months ago. And let's say he is located in the company in the Netherlands. He speaks Dutch as well as English. And let's say we have Jane, who's IT admin, and let's say she's located in Luxembourg. And let's say she speaks French as well as English. Peter is going to receive part of the simulations related to his job as an HR manager, while Jane is going to receive part of the simulations related to her job as an IT admin. Peter is going to receive simulations that are related not only to the global threat landscape, but also to the local threat landscape. So what is happening in the Netherlands? And Hoxhunt will use this knowledge and assign that in the simulations to Peter. So he's exposed to the local threat landscape, because this is something that will make his training very efficient. And Jane also will be trained not only on the international threat landscape, but also what's happening in the Benelux, what is happening in Luxembourg. Also, part of the simulations that Jane is going to receive will be in French as well as English, while Peter will receive part of the simulations in Dutch as well as English, because those are languages they speak. Furthermore, with Hoxhunt, we can also use OSINT framework and get to know about the technologies that are being used and enable this knowledge into the simulations that are being sent. As you saw in my example, there was a Dropbox. So we can get to know that, let's say, the organization uses Dropbox and use this information against your employees in the simulation environment in order to train them, to make it as relevant and as tailored to your organization without requiring any manual work from the security team. Furthermore, as I mentioned, no employee has their own learning track. But how do we know where everyone starts? And this is actually a pretty frequent question that I get as an account executive while I talk to the prospective interested companies to become our clients. So first 4 simulations ever that companies are receiving are going to be identical. This is so-called bootcamp period. During this time, Hoxhunt learns about the strong, the weak sides, which kind of simulations people click, which kind of simulations they miss, and which kind of simulations they report by pressing the button. And based on this knowledge, every consecutive phishing simulation that is going to be sent out to the employees will take into the account these answers of the bootcamp period, and every next answer and interaction with every consecutive phishing simulation afterwards. So let's review the example of Jane. So center of the spider web is an easy level of threat simulation. The more outside of the spider web it gets, the more advanced phishing simulation becomes, the level of it. So we can see that Jane failed, red dot, on the topic of online services. So the next simulation that is going to arrive on the topic of online services will be on a bit easier level. Why? So that Jane catches it this time. However, on the topic of dangerous files, Jane did a phenomenally good job, and she spotted and reported a simulation, the blue dot. So the next simulation on this threat attack vector will be on a bit more advanced level. Why? Because we want her to progress. We want to challenge her a little bit. So Hoxhunt applies a lot of different behavioral aspects in the philosophy of teaching, and one of them is a principle of proximate learning. What it means in practice is that Hoxhunt wants to educate users on a little bit easier level with the topics that they are not so good at, and on a little bit harder level on the topics that they are pretty good at, so that it's still reachable, but it challenges a little bit, but it still encourages you to catch the threat. So we lower down the level of it in order for you to be able to catch it. So this is what I wanted to cover in terms of the personalization and personal attitude to every employee when it comes to phishing training. And we can, of course, move to the next slide if it's okay.
Yeah, maybe some comments on that. I think it's a very fair way of educating people, and this is really working. To make the link with DORAs, with their couple of articles which are important to link to that. So there is the article 9, on the protection. So training of awareness training is part of those requirements and the technical standard as well. But there is Article 10 on the detection, and as you said, Daryna, we are relying on the more and more on the staff to be able to detect, especially phishing attacks, as you said, as early as possible. And of course, the testing, so Article 25 on the testing pillar. Yeah, so that was my small remark.
Mm-hmm. And also to summarize my informative speech today, as I mentioned earlier, that Hoxhunt is not only about phishing training, we do also have security awareness training. And Hoxhunt is a tool that can help you empower your organization to prepare for a DORA. And also, when it comes to security awareness training, you can see recommending training topics and tools that are part of Hoxhunt's security awareness training, that is more like these e-learnings that can be assigned to users that can enhance your preparation to DORA. And as a summary, I wanted to tell you that I just only scratched the surface here because I do not have 3 hours of my monologue to cover all the list of the products, but we are very open to have conversation with whoever is interested. And I wanted to say thank you for Jean-Hubert for the invitation. It's an honor to be presented here and to show the elements of our solution and our approach to the audience and participate in this panel.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you, and as well Kurt, at Kurt and Barry for the conclusion. So maybe to wrap up quickly. So we of course the common topic of today was testing, testing pillar and the testing program. So all the solutions can deliver a part of this program on the third party, on exposure management and attack surface and vulnerability management, and on the staff. Yeah, and of course we are happy to have you here and to welcome questions. I'm just checking with Edgar if we have some question. No, we don't seems to have. No, there's no question on. So for the moment. So, but we will collect them. So this webinar is recorded, of course, and will be posted on our YouTube page and on LinkedIn. So thank you again, Kurt, Barry, and of course Daryna, to participate today, and see you next time for the next webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.